Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Dana.
Good morning.
Welcome to the 2021 annual membership meeting. I'm going to do some housekeeping before we get started. So, like I said, welcome. With me today is Dana Williams, CAMFT's president. And let me go over some things for people to know. For those attending, we will not have attendee chat. So there will be a Q&A at the end of the meeting. If you use the raised hand function in Zoom, then you will come to the top of the list for questions. And so if you have a question during a presentation, feel free to use that to get into the queue when the Q&A does occur. For specific questions about a situation that you might be encountering, we recommend you call CAMFT attorneys, BBS, or you could email CAMFT. But the attorneys, the line will be open at 8:30, so you can still ask your questions then. And the annual business report will be posted in the chat for reference during the presentations. With that, I'm going to share screens, and let's see. So let me do that first before I do that. No, that's not what I want. This one. Okay, so Dana, do you see the PowerPoint?
Yes.
Okay.
But just a moment. Okay, now I see it well.
Okay, so I will defer it to you, and I will start the first slide.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome. Thank you so much for being here. I'm going to take an opportunity to introduce our 2020-2021 Board of Directors. We have Katie Vernoy, past president, Lisa Romaine, secretary, Robin Anderson, our chief financial officer, Peter Selleris, our pre-licensed director at large, Darshana Doshi, clinical director at large, Nancy Finley, clinical director at large, Juan Gavidia, Maureen Hutz, Kira Kaler, and Ava Denise Phillips. Thank you so much for your service this year. And for our next slide, I'm not able to see it.
Oops. There, do you see that? Uh-oh.
Yes, okay, I do see it. So for 2021-2022, we have Lisa Romaine serving as president-elect, Peter Selleris serving as secretary, and Robin Anderson as CFO. Also on board will be Juan Gavidia, Rebecca Hines, Maureen Houts, and Ava Denise Phillips.
Okay, thank you, Dana. Okay, so I will begin my presentation on 2020, so how 2020 was. As you can imagine, 2020, I mean, shock, it was pretty overwhelming. We normally would have this meeting in person, right? But we had a worldwide pandemic. We had a major a rise in attention to Black Lives Matter and social justice after the murder of George Floyd in May of last year. And it certainly has affected everyone, including MFTs and how they practice. So it's been quite a year. I'm going to go over some data from the survey that CAMFT did in June of 2020, looking back at how the transition to telehealth went. And really what we saw was a historic shift in MFT practice. So on March 16th, so we asked people, what was your practice like on March 16th? That was the day that the Bay Area executive order came down. And at that time, almost no telehealth was really about 90% of our practice. And 75% or more was really less than 2%. So very few people were doing telehealth of any sort before the pandemic. By June 16th, this had completely inverted. 75% were doing 100% telehealth, and no telehealth was down to 2%. And a smaller portion were seeing between 25 and 75%. So we saw a dramatic change in practice over the, in a very short amount of time, something I honestly never thought would happen this fast. So, and then the transition to telehealth, we asked how long did it take to transition to telehealth? And for most people, for 2/3 of our respondents, it took less than a week. And when you add up 2 weeks, half a month, almost 90% of people were able to do it within 2 weeks, 15 days. Only a few people needed more than that. And then this is our question on the future of marriage and family therapy practice at telehealth. What percentage of clients will you continue to see via telehealth after the health crisis is over? And almost none is only 28%. And so the majority plan on seeing some clients via telehealth. 100% is not a lot, 12%. And this is a year ago, so it might have changed over the course of the last year. But if we add 50, 75%, and 100%, we're talking 40% of people think they're going to see half their clients or more by telehealth post-pandemic. And this is early in the pandemic. So I have a feeling this might have shifted even some more. But there's still going to be people going back to the office for sure, absolutely. So how did CAMFT deal with COVID? I posted this shot that that the lobbyist sent us of the Bay Bridge with one car on it. Like, when is this ever possible? So CAMFT kept a lot of information for members. We created a page with all kinds of questions, answered Q&A and FAQ on telehealth, on business, on all kinds of things. And that's on the CAMFT website. That's updated on a regular basis. So you can always start there before calling the attorneys if you want to, but you can always call an attorney. We made a PSA video that you could share on social media about coping. The legal team answered questions the whole time. CAMFT never closed in the transition. We were able to successfully transition to remote overnight. And so luckily we had the systems in place, and we had tested it the week before the Bay Area order came in. So we were prepared. As a reminder for members, we are discouraging paper renewals. The office is currently remote, so we do not get mail at the office anymore. We pick it up at the post office. Anything sent to CAMFT, add 2 to 3 weeks processing time to be safe. So on top of mail delays, CAMFT is not receiving it the moment it arrives in San Diego. So please be aware of that. So we're encouraging online renewals, or call us on the phone and we'll take it over the phone. Staff is entirely remote right now. So we did a lot of education last year. We did a lunch and learn series in April and May with BBS, folks from Simple Practice, board members and staff. We got 7,500 registrations over these 7 webinars. In June, we did a Black Minds Matter webinar with Dr. Luke Wood, professor out of San Diego State. This was our best attended webinar ever, with 2,453 registrations and over 2,100 live in attendance. And our virtual experience, our virtual conference, was the best attended paid event ever for CAMFT. So reminder that the ethics code, which was approved in December 2019 by the CAMFT Board of Directors, is now part of the code that MFTs must adhere to. And we released a workshop at the virtual experience last year. And I encourage anyone who hasn't seen it and wants to earn their CE hours for ethics to watch this great webinar with Mike Griffin, an attorney who's also a licensed clinical social worker, and Raymond Cameron, who is a professor of MFT and a member of the ethics committee. And they did a great conversation on ethical and clinical issues and the new changes to the ethics code. So it's a great way to meet your needs and learn more about the changes to the ethics code. CAMFT also developed some anti-racism resources. We created a web page, and that web page has a bunch of different things that for members to access. The statement that CAMFT published on May 30th, 2020, just a few days after the murder of George Floyd. Dr. Wood's webinar from June 2020, his implicit bias keynote from the August 2020 conference, additional sessions from the 2020 virtual conference. So we did a workshop by Dr. Joy DeGruy on post-traumatic slave syndrome. Unfortunately, we could not record it at her request, so that is not available for members. However, if you want to attend her workshop for the virtual experience next week, you can still purchase that individually or as part of the conference package. We've done a session on Asian American resilience earlier this month, and there's lots of sessions on cultural issues at the conference that's coming up in the next month. So due to the bylaws vote that occurred in March of 2020, we were able to do electronic voting. And our electronic voting has led to a substantial increase in participation. So the paper ballots get about a 6.5% response rate, and the electronic ballots get 3 times that, almost 19%. So electronic ballots are awesome. We love it. It is greener because we're not sending paper and paper that you end up tossing away or sending back to us. So we want to encourage people to opt in for this. You have to opt in. This is a California Corporations Code requirement. So be on the lookout for more for pathways on how to do that. That'll be coming out in the near future in 2021. Pre-licensees are very important to CAMFT. They are 1/3 of our membership and the future of CAMFT. And so CAMFT remains incredibly committed to pre-licensees. So this photo is from our pre-licensee fair symposium from September 2019. That photo now creates a lot of anxiety for me because we are so not socially distanced in that photo. But I hope we get to that back one day. We have held job fairs at all our annual conferences. It's a little harder to do at a virtual conference. We had a symposium earlier this month for pre-licensees, and this will be a routine event. So if you missed this time, there will be another one for you probably in the fall. And follow us on Instagram, our pre-licensed CAMFT Instagram account. You'll get more information there. Reminder for pre-licensees, I hope there are some pre-licensees here. You can always call the attorneys. They get lots of questions on supervision hours, on supervision questions. And then a very common thing is child abuse reports. You can get a quick consult. Should you not call CPS? You can do that with, you can get a consult with the attorneys to assess that. We've done sessions at universities with our new manager of educational outreach, Dr. Christy Kadarian, who is an Lmft and is in charge of our outreach to pre-licensees. And as a reminder, the board released a statement on pre-licensee pay that associates should be paid. So that is driving some of the advocacy that we do at the state level. I want to encourage everyone to volunteer at CAMFT. For the board of directors, we have a vacancy. We have 4 vacancies actually on the CAMFT board. 2020 was rough when we were doing our applications, and so we have some vacancies. The deadline is today, so if you want to apply, you could still do so today. You'll need to get it in by the close of business, and that link will be posted in the chat. And then we always want to encourage people to get involved with chapters. So at the chapter level, we love having more involvement. Medicare is very important for CAMFT at the federal level. That's our main priority. So every Congress, we introduce legislation to add LMFTs to Medicare. And CAMFT, so for last year's bill, so last Congress's bill, we had 123 sponsors, which is the most that CAMFT has ever had for the Medicare bill. It's bipartisan, so we have both Democrats and Republicans. And so we will send you action alerts to contact your legislators when we want to get them to co-sponsor our new bill. At the VA, we're always working. The second priority at the federal level is the VA, and we are working on the standards for employment. And we've had some major concerns about some of the regulations that have been made. And so CAMFT actually has been, in 2021, we have been working with the Government Accountability Office to answer some questions. We have a conversation with them in a couple weeks that to try to address some of these issues at the VA. And CAMFT is constantly lobbying to improve these standards. So 2019 and 2020 reminders for CEs, and Steve Sottergen, the BBS executive officer, who is here as well. He can remind you of these, but just a quick summary. The suicide CE requirements went into effect January 1, 2021. Reminder, that's a 6-hour requirement. CAMFT does have that workshop available on our online demand library. Consumer notification. So reminder that effective last year, consumers had to be notified about how to make a complaint to the BBS about you as a therapist. That could be part of your intake materials. That was effective last year. And also effective last year is that licensed educational psychologists can supervise up to 1,200 hours for pre-licensees. That became effective last year. Legislation that CAMFT has been working on. So in 2020, CAMFT worked a lot on AB5. So AB5, as a reminder, was passed in 2019 and was the employment contractor law, basically making it very difficult for anyone to be an independent contractor. So CAMFT got lots of feedback from members, and knowing that it impacted lots of LMFTs. So we worked with stakeholders, and AB 2257 created a pathway for LMFTs to be independent contractors as a business-to-business agreement. So a corporation by an LMFT could contract with another corporation. And that addressed the great majority of the concerns that members had. There's articles by Kathy Atkins and by Sarah Jasper on this in the Therapist magazine, so please look at that for more details. And then for 2021, we are currently working on AB 723, scope of practice. CAMFT in 2020 worked with stakeholders, including BBS, to ensure no opposition to this bill. And it's currently moving through assembly committees without opposition. So we anticipate today a positive outcome on this. 2020 advocacy. there was a lot on Governor Newsom's list at the beginning of the year, and it all got scratched for COVID, the economy, homelessness. Those became the priorities in March, April last year. And so realistically, you know, the state legislature kind of condensed last year. They have protocols in place, so they're back to functioning on the more typical schedule. And that's how our bill is getting through. But there are limitations. Legislators can't introduce numerous bills. They were capped at 12 bills a legislator, which is a major limit on them. And so we're very lucky to have Assemblymember Evan Lowe sponsoring our bill. So that's all the questions. That's the summary of 2020. I'm leaving the finances for our Chief Financial Officer, Robin Anderson, who is next. But I just want to end with something a little bit more inspiring, because this year, 2020, particularly the beginning of the year, was very scary. And I drove up to Los Angeles from San Diego to see this piece of art, and because I love the message. When the dust settles, we will forever know who we love, what we need, and where we truly want to be. Wait for it. And I think this really nicely summarizes, I think, some of the amazing work that that MFTs do. Like, we really are doing stuff that's important, and I hope marriage and family therapy practice is where you truly want to be. So I leave that to you to end this part of the conversation. It's my privilege to introduce Robin Anderson. So thank you. She's our Chief Financial Officer. So I'll leave it to you. Okay.
All right. Thank you, Nabil. And I realize it's early in the morning. Good morning, everyone. If your eyes start to glaze over during the financial report, I won't hold it against you at all. You can always go to the annual business report and navigate to pages 12 through 15 to review the information I'm about to share. So 2020 was undoubtedly a difficult year for many of us, physically, emotionally, and financially. With the onset of the pandemic, it became clear that CAMFT would need to reassess its ambitious financial goals. And thanks to the hard work of CAMFT staff, board members, and committee members, our association was able to maintain its excellent financial standing throughout 2020. So on behalf of CAMFT's board of directors, I'm proud to present the current financial state of our association. I'll start with revenue. CAMFT is able to accomplish its important work using revenue generated from multiple sources. CAMFT's membership numbers continued to grow in 2020 despite the pandemic, which resulted in a slight increase in membership dues revenue. The cancellation of the CAMFT annual conference, which would typically be held in late April, early May, led to a significant decrease in event registration fees compared to 2019, which is understandable. However, the introduction of the CAMFT virtual conference later in 2020 and the expansion of the on-demand learning library allowed CAMFT to recoup some of that revenue. In spite of the pandemic, CAMFT's total revenue for 2020 was $5,625,054, which is down $158,060 compared to 2019. Now, in addition to our revenue, CAMFT experienced a significant reduction in expenses. And this is because staff transitioned to working from home, in-person events transitioned to a virtual format, and of course, there were other factors that came into play. Postage and printing costs decreased due to improvements with CAMFT's AMS system and more members deciding to go green. Nabil cited the elections, and now we have the electronic option for voting. While overall revenue was down for 2020, so were the overall costs of doing business. So CAMFT's total expenses for 2020 were $4,980,948, down $562,205 compared to 2019. So it certainly helped as you look at both revenue and expenses to see how it all balanced out in the end. Going to CAMFT's investments, they continue to be managed by Dunham & Associates Investment Counsel. Their ability to navigate the economic volatility of 2020, which anyone who follows the stock market could see there was quite a bit of that, resulted in CAMFT's portfolio experiencing an investment return of $854,937.42, which comes out to a 9.25% growth in our investments. CAMFT's portfolio balance at the end of 2020 was $10,304,577.82, which is up a whopping $1,554,709.12 compared to 2019. And I told Nabil I was going to make this joke. No, CAMFT did not invest in GameStop or other meme stocks in order to experience these gains. CAMFT continues to retain the services of West Road and Roberts, a certified public accounting firm for our external audit. We do this every year. After completing their audit in February of this year, they issued the following statement. In our opinion, the financial statements referred to above present fairly in all material respects the financial position of CAMFT as of December 31st, 2020, and the changes in its net assets and its cash flows for the year then ended in accordance with accounting principles generally accepted in the United States of America, which, in other words, means CAMFT received an outstanding audit for 2020. I want to take a moment to acknowledge that CAMFT staff faced many of the same hardships that all of us did, yet they continue to serve our association with an impressive level of dedication. So special thanks to our executive director, Nabil El-Ghrouri, for anticipating the challenges 2020 would present for our association, pivoting very quickly in light of everything that was unfolding early in 2020. And also to our managing director of finance and operations, Ron Heinem, for ensuring CAMFT's continued financial stability in a year that felt far from stable. I also want to take a moment to acknowledge CAMFT's board members and committee members who played a crucial role in providing financial oversight throughout 2020. Special thanks to the members of the Finance Committee, which includes Ariel Cohen, Jeff Cashew, and Kira Kaler. The Audit Committee, which includes Elizabeth Birch, Victoria Campbell, and Ronald Ma. Our 2020 to 2021 CAMFT Board of Directors, and to our previous CFO, Kurt Wilhelm, for their dedication as volunteers. They took time away from their clinical work, especially in the midst of the pandemic. That's commendable in order to serve our association and its membership. So that's it for my CFO report. Again, you can go back to pages 12 through 15 in the annual business report if you need to review any of these numbers. But I'm going to wrap it up there. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Robin. And we did not invest in GameStop, but we did do some advice based on our investment and we actually increased stocks in late March, right as the market bottomed out. And that actually helped us make some money. So, but that was with our advisors and following the policy that the board set. So hopefully your personal 401ks did better than CAMFT last year, because they should have. Thank you, Robin. Okay, so now it's my privilege to introduce Steve Sottergen. He is the Executive Officer for the Board of Behavioral Sciences. So please, waiting for him to turn on his camera.
It should be on.
There you go. There you go.
Is it on? Can you see me?
Yes, we can see you. Congrats on
Thank you.
On your new position. You've been there, what, about 2 months as a full executive officer?
Yep.
So I'm going to let you speak for a few minutes. Thank you.
Okay, good morning. Thank you, Nabil. And good morning, everyone. Thank you for taking this time and letting me talk to you a little bit about what has been happening with the Board of Behavioral Sciences. I know we were talking a lot about the pandemic, and I have to just fill you in about what we did. And I know you can agree that it's been a trying year that's brought many challenges to us. And at the BBS, we met those challenges in many ways. Our staff transitioned really quickly to a remote work setting, and that's something new, definitely for state service and for our operations. So we went from all staff in the office to just very minimal, like 20% staff. We worked with the Department of Consumer Affairs also in seeking waivers to our laws that would ease up the burden on registrants and licensees in regards to renewals and for taking tests. I will explain a little bit later. Additionally, we began to accept some documents electronically, and we worked with our exam vendor really closely, Pearson VUE, to open additional testing sites and to address the reduction in seats available to take the test due to the COVID restrictions. These challenges, has allowed us to minimize the impact of COVID-19 to our operations and our licensees, and I hope that is the case for you, that you saw that if you had to go through the renewal process or the exam process or an application process, that operations really were not affected that greatly. So post-pandemic, currently we are still operating with about 70% of our staff working remotely. And we currently still have some waivers in place that are able to assist you. And I'll give you a little recap on those. So the first waiver I'm talking about is the Law and Ethics Exam Waiver for subsequent registration. This waiver waives the requirement that associate marriage and family therapists must pass the California Law and Ethics examination before a subsequent registration number is issued. The waiver applies to all associates who are in their last year of renewal if that renewal expired between March 31st and April 30th, 2021. So we're at the final day. The California Law and Ethics exam will still need to be passed in the next year. Will still need to be passed in the next year after you receive your subsequent registration, that next renewal date. This one, I believe that we might not be extending it further since we are back up to about 100% capacity in all testing sites, and the exam should be easy to actually obtain. More importantly, this is the one I think that's on everyone's mind, is face-to-face training and supervision requirements. The following has been waived. Currently, the component of the law that only permits AMFTs registrations to obtain their required weekly direct supervision contact via video conferencing if they are working in an exempt setting. An exempt setting is defined as a government entity, a school, college, or university, or an institution that is both nonprofit and charitable. Now, this waiver makes this type of video conferencing supervision available in all settings. It was recently extended to April 30th, 2021, but now we're waiting, and we've been in contact with DCA and the executive branch, and we're hopefully going to get a response today that it has been extended. We are in support of that, and I know that CAMFT is too, and I believe that they've expressed their interest to DCA, so thank you for doing that. So hopefully we'll get good news today, and you can see that on our website. The next waiver I'd like to talk about is the law that requires individuals renewing to take and pass an exam in order to renew. This is currently a waiver that helps out the AMFT registrants who are expiring between March 30, 2020 and May 31st, 2021. So it's kind of passed already, but this allowed the registrant to actually renew without having to sit for the Law and Ethics exam, which is in law part of the renewal process. Once again, because of the availability of testing sites and testing seats right now, this actual waiver is not going to be extended. I don't believe so, but stay tuned. We also have a waiver for a law requiring individuals renewing a license to complete continuing education. So this waiver was recently extended. It allows the board licensees who are set to renew between March 31st, 2020 and May 31st, 2021. They will not need to complete continuing education in order to renew your license. It will definitely need to be completed at a later date. For more information on all these and this too, I would highly recommend going to our website. I will tell you the address a little bit later. So May 31st is the expiration date on this. Not sure if it's going to be extended. Currently, it's kind of unique for us because, not unique to us, but with the board, you can do all your continuing education online. So understandably, there could be some barriers to wanting to, in person, if you had signed up for in-person CEs, but this could be accomplished online. So there's a question whether we will be re-upping this actual waiver. The next waiver is a waiver extending eligibility period to retake examination for marriage and family therapists. So this waiver extends examination eligibility for MFT applicants that failed to take or retake a required exam and whose one-year eligibility to take or retake the examination expired between March 31st, 2020 and June 1st, 2021. Instead of having 1 year to retake the examination, the individuals will instead have 20 months to take or retake the examination. So for individuals who have not taken the required exam yet, the 20-month time frame starts at the date the applicant was notified of their initial eligibility to take the exam. For individuals who need to retake a required exam, the 20-month time frame starts on the date the applicant most recently participated in the exam. Once again, stay tuned to see if this will be extended, but this currently goes to June 1st, 2021. The next waiver I would like to talk about is the waiver requiring waiver of laws requiring individuals reactivating or restoring a retired, inactive, or canceled license to complete continuing education and pay a renewal or delinquency fee. This waiver permits an individual with a retired, inactive, or canceled license who wishes to restore their license in order to help the current state of emergency to do so during this time without being subject to the normal required continuing education requirements and renewal and delinquency fees. This only applies to individuals whose license have been retired, inactive, or canceled for no more than 5 years. A reactivated or restored license will be valid until July 1st, 2021, or when the state of emergency ends, whichever is sooner. Whew, that's a lot of waivers. I would highly recommend going to our website. Information about these waivers and executive orders and updates regarding them will continue to be posted on the website. At the very top of our homepage, you can click the link that says COVID-related waivers and FAQs for BBS, and then you'll see in there additional information for all the waivers I just talked about, and actually a nice, not just the waiver language itself, but a kind of cheat sheets on some of the questions you may have about them. So I highly recommend going there. Next, I would like to, I kind of heard a little bit about the legislation that was going on, but board staff were currently in the process of reviewing legislation to determine the bills that are relevant to our professions. And we're trying to determine where we want to take positions on at the May 2021 meeting. So there's going to be a lot of legislation talking. We're going to talk a lot about legislation in the next meeting next week on May 7th. So there are 2 bills in particular that we're already taking action on so far for this legislative session. The board is sponsoring AB 690, sponsored by Rambula, which is a bill to better define the practice settings that its licensees and pre-licensees work in. The board had attempted to run this bill last year. However, due to COVID-19, the state of emergency, the legislator had to limit the number of bills, as Nabil was saying, it could consider, and unfortunately, the bill did not move forward. This bill seeks to eliminate the confusion about where pre-licensees may work by providing specific definitions of private practice, professional corporations, and non-exempt settings. Additionally, I'm very excited, also the bill was mentioned earlier, so I'm excited to say that at its March 5th meeting, the board took a support position on AB 723, sponsored by Lowe, which is the CAMFT bill sponsored to work on the scope of practice for the marriage and family therapists. So we are in support of that, and luckily it's moving forward. So we're excited about that. If you want more information about the legislation that we'll be looking at, I would highly recommend going to our website, looking at our meeting material for our May 7th meeting, and there will be a compendium of information regarding all the laws that all the bills that we will be looking at. This year, part of our work that we're doing is we actually are looking at our board strategic plan. It actually expires in 2021, so we need to get one ready for 2022. And you may have, we began the process of developing the new strategic plan, and this will map out the board's priorities and goals to guide us over the next several years. I think we'll usually do a 4-year strategic plan. So we've just completed our survey that was asking for feedback from stakeholders. Hopefully you all had a chance to participate. I hope you had the email, got the email. If you did, thank you very much, because this greatly assists us in determining, what our strategic goals will be for the next 4 years. This feedback now, I think we got around 1,900 responses, which is fairly good. So this feedback will provide the board with and will be used in our work group sessions in June or July. The work group sessions will be almost like a board meeting. They are open to public, and so stay tuned if you want to listen in or join in on that. Our hope is to have the new strategic plan ready to go with the goals and the priorities in January 2022. So pay attention to that. Additionally, you may have received an email through our listserv, or I think on our social media, we're also posting this, but the Association of Marriage and Family Therapy Regulatory Board, AMFTRB, will be conducting an occupational analysis for MFTs in order to assist them in the development of their national exam. While California does not participate in this national exam, I mean, we do have the most MFTs in the nation. So because of this, they have requested our support in encouraging MFTs to actually complete the survey. So this week we'll be sending out and posting information. You may have already received this, and we would encourage you to participate, or if you know other MFTs, which I'm sure you do, please ask them to participate too. While once again, I say we don't really participate in the examination yet, we will be looking at it once again. We have over the past few years. I've gone in and reviewed that, and there could be, you know, in the future we could be using this exam. So I'd prefer that we understand that it does recognize how MFTs practice in California. And beyond all that news, I'd like to say the next board meeting is scheduled for May 6th and 7th. That's next week. March 6th, the first day of our board meetings, we always conduct petitioner hearings, and May 7th is always the business portion of the board meeting. On June 25th, we will have the next telehealth committee meeting and licensing committee meeting. One will be at 9 o'clock, the other one will probably be at 1 o'clock. These meetings are all held in WebEx, and anyone is free to join. More information about the exact meeting times and a link to participate in these meetings will be posted on the board's website at least 10 days prior to each meeting, and this will be included in the agenda. And I highly encourage you, remember these are public meetings. All the work that we do with the board and all the meetings that the board has and the committee meetings, they all are public. And I strongly encourage you to at least look at the agenda, see if something is going to be interesting to you. And if it is, join up and come in and talk to us, and you can actually provide, you know, comments if you would like. So I think we operate better when we get more voices from the MFTs, from the LCSWs, from the public and stakeholders. So please participate if you can. That being said, I think that's the end of my report. Thank you everyone for listening to me. Hopefully you got something out of that.
Thank you, Steve. And just as a reminder for everyone, BBS meetings were live streamed before the pandemic. So they always want the public to see. And as stakeholders here, everyone here is open to attend meetings. And I know several of you have attended BBS meetings. Okay, so now it's my privilege to share the winners of the 2020 or 2021 scholarship winners. So these names are not published in the annual business report. They will be published in next year's report summarizing 2021. But it's always a thrill to see the great applicants that we get, our pre-licensees. So many people apply. I wish we had more to give. If you give to the foundation, we may be able to give more scholarships. But it's my privilege to do this. Okay, so let me share screen again. This is where things could happen again. So let's see. Okay, are people seeing the statement of financial position slide?
Yes.
Yes, okay, good. Okay, so the first grant, the Educational Foundation grant, is going to LaShonda Hill. LaShonda is a PhD candidate at North Central University in San Diego, studying marriage and family therapy. She will use this grant to conduct research on military lifestyle factors and African-American interpersonal relationship development and longevity. And results from this study aim to provide direction for providers who are not familiar with the population for improved relational care and identifying barriers if present. So that sounds like an awesome research study, and CAMFT is thrilled to support this. Our next winner is Marco Yoon, who is winning the Educational Foundation Scholarship. Marco is a queer, non-binary Korean American and graduate student in marriage and family therapy at Cal State University East Bay, who desires to bring greater diversity into the mental health field. So needed. They spent 3 years working at the nonprofit organization, Seneca Family of Agencies, as a classroom counselor, as well as a cultural proficiency trainer, focused on facilitating unconditional pride, creating affirming spaces for queer and trans youth, training for their fellow staff. So we are honored to give this scholarship to Marco. So thank you. And if we were in person, we'd be applauding, you know. So and then the Clinton Phillips scholarship is going to Melissa Risso. So Melissa's dedicated her life to working in domestic violence shelters, drug and rehabilitation centers, and countless schools across the state of California, teaching and counseling psychology programs, writing for therapy websites and blogs, and most recently speaking about a variety of mental and sexual health topics. She's completing her final year in the Human Sexuality PhD program at the California Institute of Integral Studies. So great work, and we are thrilled to, CAMFT is honored to support her work. And then finally, the Ronald D. Lunsford Scholarship is going to Lorraine Bratcher. Lorraine is finishing her master's degree in marriage and family therapy from Brandman University in Fairfield, California. In addition to her degree work and being the single mother of 2 daughters, Lorraine is currently doing 2 internships simultaneously, one at the Hope for Healthy Families and one at the Solano Superior Court, where she is the Veterans Treatments Court case manager. There is no doubt that our associates and students have to hustle to earn their hours and get their degree. A lot of people are doing it, you know, in online programs where they might have a full-time job. So kudos to each of our award winners and for all the applicants who submitted information. It's a very hard choice. The scholarship committee always has a very difficult time choosing. So congratulations to all of these scholarship winners. Now it's my honor to discuss some of the awards going to members. It's going to clinical members. And so the Vincent Clark Award is going to Sunny Whedon, PhD. Sunny was nominated for creating the workbook 8 Ways to Well-Being for Recovering People, which codifies the research of Roger Walsh in the use of therapeutic lifestyle change in optimizing mental health. This workbook is already used as a core curriculum in a number of treatment facilities in California and received 3 literary awards in national contests. So congratulations, Dr. Whedon. And then the next award is for the Outstanding School or Agency. And this year it is going to the Bay Area Psychotherapy Training Institute, or BAPTI, B-A-P-T-I. Founded over 25 years ago, the Bay Area Psychotherapy Training Institute addresses issues as diverse as trauma, career issues, acculturation, divorce, and gender identity. Through the BAPTI Mental Health Equity Fund, their therapists provide subsidized services to low-income clients who would otherwise not be able to afford high-quality psychotherapy services. BAPTI also provides various opportunities for associate-level therapists to continue work for and to contribute to this organization after licensure. So thank you for the hard work that you're doing in the Bay Area, supporting associates and also supporting the community. So that's really important. And then finally, the Mary Remersma Distinguished Clinical Member Award goes to Rachel Walker, Lmft. Rachel is a Bay Area therapist. She teaches, consults, and provides mentorship in the treatment of trauma and dissociation at community colleges, small nonprofits, and the mental health community at large. She has created numerous tools for therapists and clients alike, including the Trauma Recovery Guidebook for Therapists and the Trauma Recovery Handbook for Survivors, both in English and in Spanish. Rachel's books, tools, and trainings are infused with simple, everyday language, step-by-step guidance, and hope. So congratulations, Rachel. So with that, I'm going to, that's that is the end of our presentation. We have about 10 minutes for questions. So I'm going to ask Steve and Dana to come back online. And so people can ask questions. Please use the raise hand function. And so just waiting for any questions. And Dana's only been in the role of president for 1 week, so I may answer some questions that would normally be answered, by people who may answer, by members. So thank you, Dana, for graciously stepping into your role so quickly. I see one question from Kurt. I just pressed allow to speak.
Well, first of all, thank you to all of the board members. I know as a past board member how difficult moving into this year probably was for you. It's a very thankless job in a lot of cases, and not being able to have the usual benefits of being able to get together and work together in person was probably very difficult. So very versed. Thank you for all of your service this year. The question that I have is, seeing the number of open spots for the board this year, I imagine that continuing to develop a leadership pipeline is difficult with everybody meeting virtually, a lot of members and stuff being zoomed out, and knowing that this was a board priority over the last couple of years. How's the board looking at next year and developing the leadership pipeline, kind of continuing and potentially addressing a ongoing problem until the world returns back to normal?
Do you want me to speak briefly to that, Nabil?
Please.
Sure. Thank you so much for bringing up that issue, Kurt. It's definitely something that's close to my heart. And Nabil and I have already been in conversation about developing strategy to help meet the need and establish something that has longevity from board to board to each year after year. And so I feel really good about the momentum, and it's a high priority of mine. If you have any feedback or suggestions, you can certainly reach out to me, but it's something that I've been doing a lot of research around, and that Nabil and CAMFT also see as a high priority. And so I believe that we'll see more structure around the leadership pipeline in the future.
And
Great.
I'll add one more thing, that good news, we have more applicants than a number of spots currently. So I still want to encourage people to apply, but we do have more people who expressed interest this year. Okay, I see Ronald Ma has a question, so I've unmuted you, or I've allowed you to speak, so you can unmute.
Hi everybody. As what I try to do every time at the annual meeting is to not ask a question, but just really express the appreciation to the board of directors, members, all the people who are on the committees. I try to serve on committees as well, but also especially to re-acknowledge and affirm our deep appreciation to the incredible staff at CAMFT, who just do so much and work so hard, and not a lot of times aren't necessarily seen, but they really make things go so wonderfully. So affirmations and appreciation to all the staff again. I think about you regularly and just really want to express the appreciation. So that's it basically. Thanks.
Thank you. We appreciate that. And the board it's been an honor to work with the board this year. We've had very smooth virtual meetings. So thank you for being so flexible, Dana and the rest of the board who's here. I could see a bunch of people here. Use the raise hand feature if you want to ask a question. I see one more. Maria Dillon, I've allowed you to speak, so you can go unmute now.
Good morning to all. I wanted to pay a great compliment to CAMFT for the terrific job they did on switching to a virtual conference last year. It was an amazing conference, and I just don't know how you did it in such a short period of time. And my question is, how many people are attending this business meeting this morning? Thank you.
Right now, it looks like about 30 members, 30 to 35 members are attending right now. I know some staff are in right now. It was a little higher a few minutes ago. So, and we had about 50 register. And thank you for that. I'm glad that you enjoyed the conference last year. Please register for this year's conference. Anyone else would like to ask a question? Sue Ellen Barnett, I've allowed you to speak, so you can unmute.
Thank you. Are you recording this entire annual business meeting?
We are recording it, but I don't know if it's going to be posted. I don't remember. Kathy or Eric?
We had a
Yes.
little bit of trouble getting into it, so I'm hoping you're recording it.
Yes, we are recording it and we will be posting it in the members only section of the website.
Thank you.
And then the annual business report, which is linked here, we can repost the link. That will be sent out I'm pretty sure it'll be in the May newsletter. That will have a lot more information on 2020. So what I provided is a quick overview, and that will have a lot more details on a lot of the stuff we talked about.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Okay, anyone else? It is 8:56. I want to be mindful of people's time. So with that, I will thank everyone for coming. Thank you, Dana, for being here, and Robin from the board, to Steve Sottergen from BBS. I know all of you have busy schedules, and I want to acknowledge all the staff working behind the scenes: Michelle Champion, Jamie Strauss, Kathy Atkins, Eric Velasco, and our captioner, whom I don't have a name for, but I don't see it on here at least. But I want to thank everyone for their support on at this meeting. And with that, I will bid you adieu. Check out our annual business report.
And I just wanted to say one quick acknowledgement to all the board members that are in attendance as well. Normally we would be able to say hello and greet you, and we would acknowledge the board members who are outgoing. And so I know that some of you are here and are not able to be seen. So thank you so much to Darshana, to Lisa for being here this morning, Maureen for being here, Nancy, and there may have been some others. Katie Vernoy here as well. So thank you so much for being here today.
And Rebecca, new person, Rebecca is here too as well.
Rebecca, thank you.
Okay, so we're going to end now. Take it easy. Thank you for coming.
Bye.
Stay safe, everyone.
Thank you.